Those are spirits going by me to the dark part of my mind. To the dark part of my mind. To the dark part of my mind. Out of the dark part of my mind.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. I'm recording this Sunday evening, so I think I'll post it tomorrow sometime. But I wanted to share some vinyl finds for you today. Got a few 45s I'm going to share from my Des Moines, Iowa trip, which I just came back from today. Not as tired as I thought I'd be. I mean, I'm making a video, so I must be in the mood to share what I got so far. But I think I'm going to share most of those finds from Des Moines, on my next update, except for these 45s, because they're, kind of easy to talk about. And then I haven't even shown the stuff I got from St. Joseph, Missouri, going on about 3 weeks now. And then a couple things, one from the record shop and then one from a vinyl community ex-member. Well, he's still around, but not active making videos, I guess you could say. He's still watching though, and he's still out there. So we're going to dive into these. So let's dig in. So these first ones, the 45s, I'm going to share. Nothing too crazy, but definitely stuff I wanted to pick up. And this one turned out to be a great one. Pretty common 45, but it's got a very, very nice B-side here that I've always known about. And I think I've seen copies out in the wild, but they're always torched, And I'd say the A-side was played more than the B-side, obviously, because of the hit. But Gimme Gimme Good Lovin' by Crazy Elephant. It's a pretty big, somewhat national hit. Is that right? But the B-side is where the deep cut comes in. Dark Part of My Mind. It's a little glossy, but still pretty clean. So the story behind this one, Dark Part of My Mind, this is actually part 2 of a 3-part series, which the Super K group was kind of behind. The first one was released on Captain Groovy, some sort of name, I always forget it, in his army or something. It's like a Super K project of unknowns, basically, at the time. It was on the Super K label. And then this is the middle one, which is just titled Dark Part of My Mind, but it's actually part 2. And then there's like a third variation on Magic Swirling Ship. It's on the Cadet label. And that B-side has the finale of this track. So kind of a weird situation. Oftentimes the Super K, Kaznet's Cats group, they oftentimes have some kind of mysterious B-sides. Sometimes they're always in reverse. There'll be an acid rock sort of thing on a B-side. I think it's the track Candy Kisses is the one on like a 1910 Fruit Gum Company track. And just weird things like that. But so it's basically unknowns, or I'm not really sure who's behind playing this, but it's certainly someone associated with Super K, some session guys, and they just kind of, to them it's filler, but to us it's kind of like this really cool fuzz wah throttling, almost brown acid-like type of cut on here. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty brief too, clocking in almost 3 minutes. But if you want to track it out, this will cost you maybe $1 all day long because the single sold so well. So it's kind of a really cool hidden B-side I've always known about. Finally found a decent copy out there. And then along with this one, this is one that I thought was going to play a little better. Looks like the intro to both sides kind of played with some noise. But of course with the light shining on it, they definitely show the blemishes there. But this is Inagada Vida, the single cut from Iron Butterfly. Don't see that one too often, especially a promo copy. And then it has the Iron Butterfly theme. Kind of bought it for this one too, because this is also an edited cut, which I haven't heard in a while. I have to revisit this one, because I think the original cut, wasn't it like 5 minutes long? They're definitely edited versions, and obviously in Inagada Vida, you got to hear the 17-minute version, but for radio purposes, it's kind of a cool edit for sure, and it's got some writing on it, but for $1 or whatever it was, 50 cents, had to pick it up. And then, so those are the two I found at an antique mall, and I got some LPs from there too, which I said I will share perhaps in the next update. This was a Discogs purchase. I just happened to be reading the Acid Archives, kind of trying to figure out, what I should highlight next. And I had never heard of this LP it was on, but it turns out the LP had a single, and this is a single cut, and this is pretty cheap to find. This is called Yesterday's Rain by Don Robertson. And it's not the same Don Robertson you see on the Limelight label with his album Dawn. This is a totally different dude. The B-side, California. The B-side is a true dud. It's kind of like, I don't even remember what it was. It's kind of like a upbeat, kind of ragtimey thing. But the A-side I found pretty good though. This is a promotional copy. It's kind of like the soft electric piano driven, very light pop site kind of vibe to it. I like the vocals and like where the chord changes kind of happen. A very subtle tune, very straightforward, but there was something about this track I kind of liked, and I was kind of happy to see that's on a 45 here, so I could scoop that up for like $5 all day on Discogs. Doesn't seem to be too many copies floating around. He has an LP too, which has a very cool cover. I think he was based from Santa Barbara. Yeah. But he passed away a few years ago now, I guess, and seemed to have a pretty good, respectable, friends helping him out make this single and such. So couldn't really tell you what the LP sounds like because there's no clips on YouTube except the title cut. But definitely check it out if you're interested. But onto the LPs. These two I'm going to share from St. Joseph. I had a really great time down there. It's a very industrial town. A little bit dingy in spots, but I mean, certainly compared to different towns I visited, there's a lot of mysterious things going on. I'll just leave it at that. But as far as the turnout goes, I did come across a few good shops. There was an antique mall there, and there's like a subsection of it called the Music Exchange. I actually have a sticker I'm going to share of that. So if you ever happen to be in the area, the Music Exchange gave me a couple stickers. We had a nice chat in there. Give him a shout out. I told him about my channel too. But I did find a few things in there. There were a couple albums. I know one of them was Emerge by The Litter. Found that for like $10 in there. It was like super clean. It probably didn't have the shrink on very long. It was nice and crisp. I have one in the shrink, and it's a gatefold cover, but it was too good to just not leave there. So I definitely gave that to a friend and keeping my copy, obviously. But yeah, if you spot Emerge by The Litter for $10-15, definitely snatch that up, because I think people trying to sell it for like $40 now. Don't pay those prices. But continuing on this is one I did not pick up from there. This is another antique place I picked this one up. This is Songs of James Hendricks. Not that James Hendricks. This guy's actually he was based or born from Atkinson, Nebraska, of all places, which is like north central Nebraska. I've never even been there. Maybe I have, but maybe just as a kid I might have drove through there, because there was a time where we were driving to South Dakota and, north central, western Nebraska is just nothing out there, for me anyways. And so this record, yeah, he has some association. He, kind of started his life in Omaha and got involved with the Big Three, which included Cass Elliot, Mama Cass, and then soon they evolved into the Mugwumps, which, I think they might have relocated to the West Coast for that. And I think for a few years they were somewhat married. There's a little bit of speculation going on there. They were actually married. He's still alive to this day. I couldn't tell you a whole lot about him, except that he's very much a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. Getting producer credits, songwriting credits for a lot of things. Not so much, didn't really take off as a solo artist with this debut here, but it was on the Soul City label, which is Johnny Rivers' label. And he helped kind of write a few tracks for him, which he also includes on this one. What's the track? Summer Rain, I think is the track. And I like his version on here. But looking at the cover, the whole presentation looks like a very down-to-earth, earthy, living in Wyoming, Colorado kind of vibe. And there's definitely that vibe on here with the whole, pastiche of, collage of different photographs here. And, it's not so much cosmic country, but if you still like that kind of cosmic country, I think you might still dive into this a little bit. I've only given this a full listen maybe 2 or 3 times now, but I've really enjoyed what I heard. It's going to stick around for a while, and I still think you can pick this up for like $5. Doesn't really get talked about much. It's a pretty straight-laced, straightforward sort of affair here, but I happen to really enjoy it. Summer Rain was really good, and Sunshine Flowers, and I think Colorado Rocky Mountains has some highlights there. Pretty clean disc, solid VG. Still in the old sleeve there, the paper sleeve, but you can find this cheap all day, so I don't really worry too much about the paper sleeves. Someone left a comment about that earlier. I mean, if it is a pretty valuable record, I will replace it with a new sleeve. It won't be the master, the tape master quality sleeve, but I don't let that stuff bother me too much. I still take care of my discs nonetheless. And then this one came out of St. Joseph. This came out of the Music Exchange. This is one that I picked up on. It was brand new in the shop. He gave me a great discount on this because brand new copies aren't going for too much nowadays. Maybe $10 on average. And this is a release from a few years ago now. White Eyes. I know Seeking a Thread has talked about this at one point, and I've been meaning to pick up on it. It's got an insert somewhere. It's on the back here. Talks about their history here, and this is actually a St. Joseph formed group, actually. I knew they were based from Missouri, but I didn't know it was St. Joseph. So it's kind of cool. Lyrics, talks about their back history. They actually recorded this in Columbia, though, which was, several miles east of Kansas City. So it's very got that much Midwest sort of folk rock based kind of vibe. Somewhat channeling in the West Coast, 3 years later after its height of the whole Haight-Ashbury scene. And if I didn't mention already, it's his Numero Group who's behind this. Always a quality label. And these basically came from a tape or demo that they made back in the day. It really starts off on a weak note for me. It's For You. They do the whole rendition from Three Dog Night. Doesn't really land. I know a lot of bands back in the day kind of did these traditional pop standard sort of songs, but it doesn't really land very good. I mean, it's got a very cool brief solo, but that's it. But the second track should have been really the opener, Streetcar Love. Might be one of the best tracks on here. It's got a very shuffling, very catchy hook to it, as well as I Know You Rider from the Byrds. They kind of do a little variation of that track. Hard Living, and closing with I'm Not a Free Man. It's kind of more of a hard rock, and it's a little bit of a hard-edged sort of vibe on here, but not crazy heavy like Blue Cheer or anything. It's kind of more of like a channeling in that Jefferson Airplane, Big Brother and the Holding Company kind of bag. Get a shot of the hype sticker here. You guys can read it. Hopefully if it comes in. I don't think it's coming in. But yeah, recorded in 1969. Between 69 and 70, actually. It's got the white eyes on the label there. And pretty good. It's pretty solid. I wouldn't say it's anything extraordinary. But if you guys are into that sort of bag, sort of a rural flavored, Haight-Ashbury influenced folk rock thing, this is definitely for you. Okay, and this next one from Vintage Vinyl, this is one that the shop owner let me know about when I was in St. Joe, and this is one I wasn't really heavily on my radar, and I didn't know if it, what reissue label this was out of, if it was like a exact replica of the IA label, International Artists, or what, but didn't realize it got a reissue on Get Back, and this is Lost and Found, and this reissue goes under the name Everybody's Here, but some copies, or the original copy, went under Forever Lasting Plastic Words, which is the first track here. I'm a little spotty on their back history, except I do know they had very close ties to the bands like Euphoria and 34 Elevators, obviously. You know, they started out pretty early just like them, and I think the Elevators actually got inspired by these guys pretty early on as well, based out of Texas. And, for me, this has always been kind of a spotty listen. You know, not one of my favorites on international label. With the whole bluesy movements on here, zigzag blues, two-stroke blues, and even the last track, Living Eyes, even though it's got some cool moments, I do think their singles are a little better, at least their second one with Professor Black on it. But there are some good tracks here, there would be no doubt. I Realize kind of channels in that Golden Dawn vibe a little bit. And maybe my favorite track, I'm So Hip to Pain. Got a very cool aesthetic guitar solo going on. And I think some of these members went on to do a few other things, obviously. Potter, St. Cloud. A few of those related bands. But yeah, musically, they very much nail that sound down with that Texas sound, but I don't know. I just feel like the consistency of the tracks, the flow, doesn't really hit the vibe for me that I want. I think it could have been a little more hard rocking, or, just kind of strip those blues tracks away and just let me absorb it a little more. But they also channel in a little bit of that West Coast flavor too, because they did travel to California at the time, and there's definitely a very reminiscence of like Love in their style as well. Yeah, Lost and Found. Certainly recommended to psych fans and people looking into international artists, but for me, I don't really consider it like one of the big titles. I'd probably put even Bubble Puppy, obviously the Elevators above this, and whatever that other one is, Thank You All So Much, probably put that above this one too. So yeah, it was still cheap though, and still glad I got it. I'll give it a few more listens, but this is actually the best I've enjoyed it so far, I will say. Let's get a shot of the label here. It's the Found side. So, very cool. Good quality too. Okay, and then this last one, this is one that came from a VCer. As you guys know, TUCO, Vintage Vinyl Hunter. He's been kind of absent making videos, but he's still out there. Still based in Omaha. I think he's just got a lot on his plate right now, and I think he's switched jobs, last I heard, and stuff like that. But I've ran into him at the record shows and have had good conversations, bantering back and forth a little bit. And he still watches my channel. And we were talking at the last record show about, what he's obtained. I don't know how we got to the point, but he said he has this record. And I was like, I'd be interested in that if you were selling it. And he gave me a pretty good offer, and we talked a little bit back and forth over the few months, and it's finally landed in my pad. And this is Nirvana, the story of Simon Simulpath. Finally tracked this one down. I've never seen a copy in person, and I think he got this from the dig of the lifetime, as he claims. There's that whole garage full of records that just sat for years in great shape. It's like, where was I? I didn't get the heads up on that one. Now all the other heads got there, but damn, I would have got that Fafner. I'm just teasing you, man. But yeah, original copy here on Bell, and this has got to be the cleanest copy I've ever seen of this. This is a stereo copy. I'm pretty sure there's a mono out there. Definitely smell like storage, which can be somewhat of a appealing smell. Otherwise, the disc is very nice too. I'm sure you guys know about this record pretty well, right? I'll show you the B-side, I guess. Very nice copy, as you can tell. So this is considered, Baroque pop. Very light on the psych, I would say, if any at all. Vocal driven, just very orchestral pop of the highest order coming out of the UK. Pretty much the whole duo team of Alex and Patrick Campbell Lyons. Pretty esteemed songwriters at that time. I think some of the songs come, they draw influences from melancholy and just, simple writings, but they just elevate them to another level on this record. And it arguably one of the first pop concept records too. I mean, this is like early 67 or mid 67 this came out, and this is just brilliant. Song structures with the whole story involved, pretty much telling the story of how a young man wants to grow wings and fly, and eventually becomes the whole satellite jockey up in space and falls in love with a woman. You know how it goes. And turns out to be the year 1999 by the end of the record. And yeah, there's actually some cool footage online. I didn't realize they were on the Beat Club. They do Pentecost Hotel on there. So it's kind of cool to see them in action, mimicking the studio track, obviously. Don't know what else to say, man. Really blown away. Thank you so much, TUCO, if you catch wind of this. I really appreciate this, and yeah, I'm definitely going to find some perhaps metal-related records for you. I got an idea where some are. There's double copies of a record you may or may not know in an undisclosed location here in Lincoln. Anyways, Nirvana. Wow. Cross that one off. I think the only one I really need of theirs next is probably their third one on Metro Media. And obviously if I see the one on Vertigo, that one, I'd definitely be curious about that if it were ever to drop in my lap or something. I haven't really focused on making a psychedelic trip video. It'd be number 50. I've just been kind of busy doing the whole thread and busy outside of work. It takes a lot of time to make those kind of videos. I like to make them entertaining, fun to watch, kind of humorous, while you guys sit back and watch my DJ set in video format. I got the songs all ripped onto my laptop. I just need to make the video, so we'll see if I have time to make that happen this week. Not really sure yet, but life's been pretty busy. Not just in record world, but just everywhere. Been really enjoying the weather outside, and before the whole heat wave rolls over once summer arrives. But that is all I got for now. So let me know what you guys think of the finds. And yes, the Des Moines vinyl finds will be coming around the corner soon, hopefully. So lots of ideas on the YouTube side of things. So take care, and we'll see you soon.